Well, hello everyone. I'm a day late. I knew it was going to happen. I'm tired and I'm sad. Yesterday was day 2 of moving for Jenna and Toby. So I was a little too sad to record my video yesterday. And I don't want to talk about it too much because it's going to make me tear up again. So we have news. We have market news. I may or may not have a market tomorrow, depending on the weather. I got an email last night saying that they're monitoring the weather. If they're going to have to cancel the market, they're going to reschedule it for the 11th, which I am already booked for my regular market. And so I've been like debating myself in my head. What do I do if they switch it to the 11th? Because this is the market I really, really want to get into on a regular basis. And I kind of feel like, all right, well, first off, I was waitlisted. And then I got an email saying they had an opening for the 4th. Do I want it? I'm like, heck yes, I want it. So I replied, they sent me the invoice, I paid the invoice. Now, because of the current weather situation, there might not be one. If they reschedule to the 11th, I'm already booked. And that is the place that I have been going to for the summer to keep my spot open for season. And that one, I know for me, it's a sure thing because I'm in. But the other one's the one I really want to be at. But I'm in. So I'm like debating this back and forth. What do I do? Well, after sleeping on it and discussing it with myself and then discussing it with John, I've made the decision. If they do cancel tomorrow and reschedule for the 11th, I will have to bail out. The other market's been really good to me. I don't want to mess it up. And, the other place will open up for their next 6-month cycle, and the odds of me getting waitlisted again are really high because when people get in, they don't leave that market. So I stick with the sure thing or go to the other one and take my chances. I don't know. And at this point, we're supposed to know by 4 o'clock this afternoon whether or not they're going to cancel tomorrow or they're going to reschedule for the 11th. And if they reschedule, then I'll just be out the $70 because I'm not going to take the chance of losing my place at the other market. So it was a hard decision because I really want to be at the other one. But I don't want to mess up a good thing at this other place either. So there is that. So I don't know what is going on. Sunday, I said I was going to take a nap after I edited my video. That didn't happen. Because by the time I got it edited and uploaded and all that good stuff, it was too late in the day. And I was like, if I go to sleep now, I won't be able to sleep at night. So I started crocheting. But I picked easy, no-brainer things to start with. I had my list that I printed out, and I just went through and looked at the sales. And I went from there. So I started off with not one of my favorite things to make, but because I sold the 2 that I made 3 more of the little yellow and black bees to go with my rainbow bees. So they're quick, they're easy, they're just not my favorite thing to make. But we have 3 little bees, And this is the same same size that All From Jade does with her little rainbow bees that I snagged her color palettes from, because she does such a good job at picking colors. But it's the same size so that it blends with the others. So we have 3 of those. And I have my empty tote sitting right here that I can move off of here into there. And just in case that we do have market tomorrow, you know, I'm charging lights and I have to do pricing and all that good stuff today. So then, I am very tired. Emotionally, mentally, physically, you name it, I'm tired. So then looking at my list, I did a couple of the rubber duckies, but I just did hot pink because I've taken one to 2 different markets and both times they sold out. So I did 2 this time. I have plenty of the other ones. This was just to fill in for that color. And this is a free Instagram pattern from, I believe it is Amateur Hour. So 2 little rubber duckies. Now I do change the, I don't do the beak or bill. It's a bill on a duck. The same way that the pattern says to do. I just surface crochet those. I think it turns out a little bit nicer. And I can control how wide or thin that I want it to be. So we have those. Still looking at my list. Another thing that is not necessarily one of my favorite things to make, not because I don't enjoy making them, but because they never sold for me. But we did a test, and the test is not finalized yet. I saw a post on Instagram where somebody did a modification to add wings to the Mabel chicken. And I thought, well, that's cute. That's a great idea. I want to try that. So I tried doing it the way this designer's modification was. And I think it was the color of my yarn. I didn't like it. So I did the wings a little different. You know, like making a turtle flipper and giving it a scallop edge and then sewing it on. Now, the one on Instagram that I saw is no sew, you surface crochet. This was the way I'm doing it. I have to make them and then sew them on. But it's like minor sewing, so I didn't mind. So I made the 2 colors that sold out because I took 3 to market, sold 2, and these were the 2 colors that sold out. So I just did 2 more of the Mabel chickens with wings, and we're going to test it again and see how it works out. Still looking at my list. This one, I had a head start because I had the little chicks already made. So I just needed to make some eggs. I'm not sure what colors I have left in my bag, but it is what it is. So we have some chicks and eggs. This one is, actually they're all made with Mystical, but this is kind of the purplish, pinkish color. And that one. And this one. And another one of those. And then the little grayish, brownish, whatever color. So all the chicks are made with Mystical, and the egg is Bernat. I believe it is Bernat Baby, but it's the soft one. I have to be very careful when I buy Bernat, or it hurts my hands. And we don't want to do anything that hurts the hands. So we have 5 chicks with the eggs, and I believe that gives me a total of 10 that are completely made. And of course we have fluff everywhere. I'll tell you, I am so glad that these rooms are not carpeted, because I have like a little throw rug back where I sit, and the yarn fibers are like matted into that. I can clean it, then sit down and do some crocheting for the day. And when I get up, it just looks like there's mud from all the yarn fibers that have packed their way into my little throw rug. So we did that. That gives me 10. Now, mind you, I sold 84 items. So that gives me 10. And then looking at my list, I completely sold out of my Nibbles the Cookie Mouse. So we had to make some more. So we did one with the Sage Green in the Premier Chenille Brights, and Sand is the mouse color. And the nose is Dollar Tree Just Chenille. And then caramel for the cookie, and the chocolate chips are just a dark brown. I think it's espresso from Perfect Chunky. And then we did another one in hibiscus and sand and caramel and Dollar Tree pink. But I was being lazy. I was like, this color's already here. Let me just use this color. I didn't want to get up to get another color. So we have 2 cookie mice, and these are kind of fun to make. And this is my pattern, and it's available in my Etsy shop for any of y'all that don't already have it. It is a great seller. Anyone that I've talked to about this pattern, they say they sell out every time they go to market. Now, does that mean that's going to happen for you? Maybe, maybe not. I don't sell out at every market. I just happen to sell out at this last market. But with the exception of the market before that, I have sold at least one at every market. So we have 2 of the cookie mice. And that's such a pretty color. I love that color. So that gives me 12. And what is going on here? So I'm looking at my list, trying to decide, my list of what sold, not necessarily of what I wanted or needed to make. Trying to decide, what do I want to make? So I picked a turtle. And I picked a fancy turtle. And I had to frog it, because I couldn't remember how I did it completely the last time. I probably should have went back and watched my own video when I was telling you guys about it. So I think this one might have a few more flower petals on it than the previous one, because the first one I started, I was like, I don't have enough spaces, so I had to pull it out and then start again. So this is my flower turtle. The flower part is Passionate Crafter. The head and the way the body is assembled is all from Jade, her Tiana pattern. But I have a lot more petals this time, so I'm not exactly sure what I did different. I do not think it looks bad. It just looks fuller. And it allowed me to add an extra color. So I started with the purple. So I did 3. Then the next color got 4 petals. Then the next one got 5. And then 6, and so on. And then I still had some space left. I could have stopped, but I didn't. I had space left, so I added the red after the hibiscus pink. So, one very, very pretty, extra fluffy with petals turtle. But these are a fun make. So this one did, because of frogging, it took me a lot longer than it should have. But that's what happens when you try to do something like that, where you have to keep track of your count. When you're tired, you have a tendency to mess up a little bit. So then I decided I'm bored with making the list, and I need to try something new. So I was supposed to be a pattern tester for Tracy at Travel Crochet, for Leonard the Lobster. And once I added in the extra market, she emailed me right away. She told me no pressure, don't worry about it. She has plenty of testers. But I wanted to do it anyways. So on the last day, I decided to give it a go. And this is my lobster. Now, I think the body is very interesting. I like how she did that with the little ridges here, and it's all one piece. Like the whole body is one piece. You're only sewing on a few things. Making these skinny little legs, not my favorite, but it's not my favorite on any pattern that does less than 6 stitches. So it's not this pattern, it's any pattern. You surface crochet the side legs, and these she has you sew on, but I talked to Sue before I made mine, and she had mentioned that she would make them first and then tie them into place, because, you know, you're adding the eyes and stuff early on, where you can go ahead and tie these in place and not have to go back and do a surface crochet. So I did that. These claws, with them skinny legs, they're sewn on. So the way I did mine, that was my only thing I had to sew on. So this is done in the brights, and I believe this color is called Cranberry, and it is one of the thicker, more stiff of the, you know, every now and then you just get one like that. This is like that. So this was a little harder to work with, the yarn, than most of the stuff I've been using. But I got to take a break and play, and then of course because of rain I couldn't get her good pictures, and she used my awful picture I showed her in her pattern. But what can you do? If it's raining, it's raining. So we have a big lobster to add to the inventory. And it's a cute pattern. I believe it is live and available now. So because I was in the mood to do something new, I saw this come across on Instagram. And I'm probably a little off. There is no probably. This one particular one I am, and now it doesn't want to stand up. This one stands up. It kind of leans forward. Okay, that one's standing up. But, okay, so this is a character, chibi style, from Howl's Moving Castle. And it's really cute. It's really easy. It is a calcifer, I think it's called. This is something that Jenna had suggested to me, gosh, a while ago. And I'm like, I don't even know what that is. And I, never got around to playing with it. But I think this is really cute. It's so easy to make. The problem is, because of tension, you might not get your flames to line up in the right spot. For example, this one is a little bit off. This one here. right now when I'm looking at it, even his eyes kind of look crooked. I don't know. Yeah, see, like the top pointy flame is off to the side a little bit. It should be straight up and down. Both of them I had problems with, so I'm sure it's tension. And then this part down here, I think needs to be all slip stitch or sew it closed so that it'll stand properly. So it's just a few little minor changes I would do with this. But so I asked Jenna, do you know what it is? And will people just seeing it sitting on the table, will they know what it is? And she's like, if they watch Howl's Moving Castle, they will know exactly what it is. But I think they're adorable. Now, it did call for 30mm eyes. I was like, no way. I used 22s. 30mm eyes would have just swallowed the face right up. I'm just, sometimes things don't need that big of eyes. So we did that, and then playtime was over. It's time to get back to the list. So I did one more big item, and this one is bigger than the first one that sold because I used different yarn. So the price will go up on this to be in line with the other items that are in this line. And we did Snuggle Beans, Crochets, Splooting Deer, out of Chenille Brights, in Caramel, Chocolate, and White. So this is a low sew pattern. You do sew the ears on and you sew the head onto the body. The feet and the tail and the legs are crocheted in, and it lays there and sploots. It's so cute. And I did use on this size with this yarn the 30mm eyes that is suggested. I had to do rainbow because, you know, I don't have the color discs for it, and I am too sloppy at making my own eyes. So we did this, and this time I embroidered the nose instead of using a safety nose. It just felt like I had a little more control about how big I could make it and where to place it and all that. So we did this. Very cute pattern. And it's this, again, it took me longer than it should have because I'm crocheting tired and I kept making mistakes and had to frog things out. But that was just a me issue. It is a great pattern. And then I had this bright idea that for yesterday, because I sold so many keychains at the market, that I was going to spend a couple hours making keychains and I could knock a bunch of them out and, you know, kind of build my inventory up a little. Yeah, that didn't happen. I didn't realize that I was going to be recruited to help with the moving and get invited to dinner for their, you know, first full day in their apartment. And I felt like I can't decline the dinner invitation because if I say no, they might not ask again. So I went knowing that I'd have a bazillion keychains that I need to make. But you know what? Her and Toby are a whole lot more important than making keychains. So we did that. We went over there, and I missed Heather's live. I am so sorry I missed your live, Heather. It was not planned. So, what did I get made for keychains, you might be asking? Well, we started off with the possums. I had 2 at the last market. I sold 2, so we made 2 more little possums. But this time, instead of doing the first round in pink and then having to change colors on a 4-stitch round, immediately after the first round, I just stitched the little noses on. Just was easier for me. So it's all no-sew, other than I needed to stitch the nose on. So we made 2 possums. Then I said, those took forever. At least it felt like forever. Let me do something easier. So I moved over to blueberries. And these are, I just freehand these. And I actually did 3, but the first one I messed up. I forgot to leave the spot to add the ruffle. You know, this little pucker piece here. So that one didn't get completed the rest of the way. So we have the little blueberries. We did 2 of those. And I kind of pretty much stayed to 2s, except for one kind. 2 kinds. Well, yeah. Then I'm like, okay, I still need easy. So we did a couple of Pickle keychains, which I just freehand. It's really easy. But yeah, you don't need a pattern for these, and they're pretty much the same, kind of the same size. I think I might have had an extra round in this little mischievous one here. This one was first, this one was second, and it could also be that my tension was starting to get looser. But they are close enough in size that it's fine. It's just fine. I feel like, what's the word? Slap happy? I'm just very tired. So then, the one that I sold out of on the keychains at the market were the little heart-shaped ones. And this is, and the possums are both free patterns off of Instagram. I cannot think of the designer names off the top of my head, but I'll have them linked if I remember. And if I don't remember, I'm sure somebody will remind me. So we did the little heart-shaped keychains. So we have the watermelon. And I think this is supposed to be dragon fruit. I don't know. I just like the color. And then she had one where she did a solid color and showed embroidered hearts on it. So I gave that a try, or embroidered hearts, embroidered flowers on it. So I gave that a try. I did okay on the flowers. I am not like a manual embroidery type person, but I gave it my best shot, and I think it looks very pretty on this light purple haze. All my keychains are made out of Parfait Chunky. That way I can get them small enough to be considered a keychain. So we have the 3 hearts. And then scouring my list again. I'm like, what other keychains do I need that I feel like making? So the little bitty, itty bitty mini birds. Now I could use the ones from Jade's Swings, but I kind of like this one because it has knot bobble stitches for wings. So for the keychains, I used those. So I did a yellow. Almost out of this color. I'm hoping I can get a few swings made before tomorrow night with the yellow chicks, because I sold out of those. If I can't get them all this color, I do have the maize, which is kind of an orangey school bus type yellow, but it'll work for these. And then we did a little mallard. So we got 2. It just kind of replaces. Now I think I only sold 1 mini bird. So that kind of, it gives me an extra. But the little mini bird keychains. These are fun and easy to make. I do enjoy making these. I haven't made any in a while. And then the other one that was popular, and it's so funny because the size difference between yarn over and yarn under. I sold 2 out of 3 of the little itty bitty loaf cats that we put on keychains, which was one of the patterns I did in the Share the Love IG challenge. So the 2 that sold was a solid white. So I made a solid white one. And then it was the tuxedo cat, which I didn't exactly do it tuxedo like the way the pattern said because I forgot to change the color on the bobbles. So this one I did a little different too, or as well. And it only has 1 white paw. So we did those 2. And then I know my orange one didn't sell, but I had actually did this one before I went to market last weekend, but I didn't have the hardware attached, so I didn't take it with me. So I'm including that in this one. And I tried her stripe, because you have a solid, you have a tuxedo, a stripe, and a Siamese cat that comes in this free pattern. So I tried the stripe one, and I decided to do it out of orange. And orange just happens to be the color that didn't sell on the cats. But I think this one might look a little more interesting than the other one did, because he does have the stripes. And I did yarn over on this one because of the color changes like so frequent. It's a little easier, but there is a very noticeable size difference between yarn over and yarn under. Big difference. So what I did 3, 6, 8, 10, 12. I did 14 keychains. I did not make the ice cream cone or the mushy boy, which I probably should do at least one of those. I don't know, there was a few that I didn't get to because it was such a big variety. I mean, 20 keychains, that's a lot in one market. But I've managed to replace 14 keychains. And that, my friends, is all that I've gotten done since Sunday. And that was with an extra day, but a very busy, occupied extra day. And then, you know, one of the other things that happened yesterday is John hired a tree company to come and trim back some of the branches away from the house because, you know, we're coming into storm season again, which it happens to be one of the reasons why my market is up in the air for tomorrow. So they show up, they start cutting, and the guy's hydraulic pump on his bucket truck or boom truck, whatever you want to call it, broke. So he had to stop. Then the mechanic showed up for that. And he has to order a part. So I have this big truck sitting in my yard, right in where Jenna used to park. Luckily, there's 2 gates where kind of like a circle drive. I can get out the other side because with his big truck there, I can't use that side. I don't know. Anyways, I'll keep you updated. I don't know if I'm going to crochet today. I'm like just drained. I need some rest. So I'm going to edit this and then hopefully, unlike Sunday, I'll be able to rest instead of like, oh, it's too late. If I take a nap now, I won't be able to sleep tonight. All right, so if I do not have a market tomorrow night, we will do a live. But if I do a market tomorrow night, we will not. That will be one sneak peek into whether or not my market got canceled, is if I am live or not. Other than that, we will see you on Sunday.